So modern men are going through a bit of an identity crisis. And what made me realize this was that I was thinking back to when I was growing up and how, I grew up in sort of a, I guess you could say, a broken home in the sense that, my mom and dad split up when I was younger. And although I did have, people in my family, my grandfather, I had step parents, I didn't really have the masculine guidance that I felt I needed. And so as I got older, I started to go to the internet and rely on, these people I'd find on the internet to really give me the advice, the life advice I needed. Because as much as, my mom was there for me and could help me with a lot of things, there was a lot of things that, quite frankly, she wouldn't understand as a man. And so I really started to look for advice in these places online. And the problem I started to notice was that I was getting conflicting advice. One guru would tell me that, in order to be a man, I needed to do this. And then another one would say, oh no, actually, that's not what you need to do. You need to, make millions of dollars. And then this one would say, oh no, but actually, you just need to live a life of purpose and freedom. And so as I entered into my early 20s, it got more and more confusing to the point where I was like, just giving up. I didn't know what to do. And because I was just constantly receiving this conflicting advice. And I really think in our society right now, because of, people like me who grew up in, households where they didn't have a strong father figure, the reality of the situation is that young men are going through an identity crisis, and even those of you who did grow up with a father in your home, if he wasn't actually leading the way, if he wasn't masculine, you may have not been able to get the leadership that you needed from him either. And so this is a problem I'm seeing amongst men in general, like not even just guys who are in their 20s, but guys in their 30s. Heck, even guys who maybe are going into their 40s, they didn't grow up with the guidance that they needed. And so there's a lack of values and there's a lack of really a code to live by. And so it becomes very easy to be influenced by all these external people. Now, I'm not trying to come on here and say that by any means it's bad to be on the internet looking for advice. It's just that as I've grown up as I'm growing up and the older I get, I start to realize things about the world that the internet just has completely wrong. And these gurus don't know what they're talking about, and or they don't have your best interest at heart. A lot of these guys are on the internet taking advantage of people because they know what I just told you. They know that there's a lot of men who didn't grow up with their fathers in the household. They know there's a lot of men who grew up without the guidance they needed. And so it's an easy way to kind of take advantage of people and, get them to either just follow you blindly or to buy things from you or whatever their ill intentions may be. Now, that's not to say that everybody who's online, who's giving you advice and offering solutions and, that you can buy coaching or whatever, their communities from is bad at all. I'm just saying beware, because the reality is there's a lot of these people out there who don't have the best intentions for you, and that's what I started to realize. And or they just have these radical point of views that make no sense. They'll have these ideas about how the world works because they've been trapped in these sort of echo chambers for so long in their little space that they think that the world works this way, and it doesn't. And if you try to follow their advice, it's only going to lead you down a road of misery. And so this identity crisis that we're facing is really a lack of fatherhood, I think. I think it's a lack of leadership. I think it's a lack in this society of masculine role models, actual role models that legitimately live what they preach. That's one of the big things that I started to learn was a lot of these guys know how to talk. A lot of these guys know how to speak in a way that's charismatic and that makes it seem like they know everything because they're confident. But really, once you start looking under the hood at their actions, they're very hypocritical. And guys, I'm sorry out here again. I almost have to apologize every video now because I usually do these videos when I'm out walking and the wind gets so bad with the weather we have up here that I know it's ruining the audio. So I'm sorry, I'm working on saving up here for investing in a lav mic that I can clip on right here that I can talk into as we're walking. So these people, a lot of times they aren't actually following and doing what they preach. So they'll tell you things and make you believe things because they can speak so confidently. But when you look at their actions, they're extremely hypocritical. And they aren't actually following through with the advice that they're giving you. And so this is the identity crisis we're in. These people and these gurus will come forward and seem almost like a savior. And you have to be careful as a man, because truly the only one that can change your life is you. It's not some guru. It's not me making this video. I understand that I'm talking about this, but as I'm talking about it, I'm also a bit in this space where, I help guys out with their self-improvement and just their, mindset and fitness and personal brands and stuff like that. And I understand that I'm in this space, but I always try to take the point of view where, like, I'm not giving you hard rules that like you have to live by. I'm just trying to more share my experience. And furthermore, I walk the talk, I actually do what I say. I don't give you guys advice or give you things I've learned that I haven't done. I try to stay away from speaking on things that I haven't done, because I've personally watched so many people in the space of self-improvement, just role models for men, give these crazy, outlandish sort of prescriptions on what you need to do with your life. And then what's so funny is they're completely doing the opposite of what they said. People will tell you, hey, you need to live by this code of conduct. And then, behind the scenes, they're complete, degenerates. They'll say, hey, you can't drink, you can't do this, you can't do that. But then they don't back up what they say with their actions. So that's probably the biggest piece of advice I can give to you when it comes to this topic, when it comes to finding your identity, because me telling you to not go on the internet and not be influenced by these people is probably not going to do any good. Because the reality is, we almost live in a reality now where the internet is an integral part of our lives, and getting advice from people on the internet is so common. So what I would say is, be very careful who you take that advice from. Be very careful who you look up to, because many of the time, the way they speak is very eloquent, it's very confident, it's very charismatic, and it makes you believe that what they say is the truth. But when you look under the hood, they're not following through. So yeah, be aware of that, be careful of that, and always watch to see if their actions match what they say. Because if they don't, then you can be sure it's not a person of integrity, and it's not someone that you should be following or listening to. And furthermore, I think that this identity crisis that men are going through is not just spurred on by the fact that we have, a lot of fatherless homes, although that is part of it. I think that there's a lack of role models, but I also think that there is just a lack of real world experience. A lot of us, the way we grew up was very much indoors, on our computers, on our phones, and we don't have the real world experience of our grandfathers. We don't have the real world experience of the people that grew up without the internet. And so a lot of times we're so unsure what to do because we don't have confidence in ourselves, because we haven't done enough. We haven't gotten out there and really experienced life and wrestled with it and struggled with it. We've been very insulated. At least I know, myself growing up, spent so much time online that I didn't get nearly enough time in the real world. And so that also becomes a problem, because instead of trying to figure things out for yourself, you're always trying to use AI or Google or someone's video on YouTube to tell you what to do, And the problem with that is it starts to really eliminate those critical thinking skills, because you're always relying on something else to give you the answer. And when those critical thinking skills start to get diminished, that's when it's a perfect opportunity for these influences and these people who aren't good for you to come in and to start really giving you their worldview in a way where it starts to sink in and you start to believe it. Now, again, I'm not trying to say, all these people are bad and you shouldn't use the internet. I just want to warn you to be careful of who you listen to and make sure that their actions really align with what they're telling you. Because I don't want you to get caught in a lot of the traps I did, where people give advice about, money or women or fitness. And the reality is, it's like, oh, that guy who's telling me to do this exercise Well, that doesn't really work because he's on steroids. Or, oh, that guy who's, saying don't date this type of woman is a complete hypocrite because he's actually doing it. Or the guy who's like, hey, this is the perfect way and the best way to make money, and I guarantee you're going to make money, and you fall for the trap. So yeah, a lot of times it's difficult to distinguish because these people, they have things that you want, right? They're living a lifestyle you want, and then they sell you the lifestyle. So again, I want to make a clear definition here. I'm not saying that in and of itself is bad. I'm saying you have to be careful, and it can be bad if those people are not following through with the actions, and they're trying to basically get you to think that all your problems will be solved via them, when in reality all your problems are going to be solved when you decide to take action and change your life. And that's kind of why I make these videos, is to wake up whoever I can to the fact that you need to change your own life. Okay, that doesn't mean you can't get coaches or join communities or buy courses that help you do that, but understand that those are just stepping stones. Those are just tools, but you have to be the one wielding them. You have to be the hero in your own story, and no one else can do that except you. And so it's important to find guides. I know I've been helped immensely by people on the internet, but just as much as I've been helped, I've also been led astray in certain areas. And that's because I wasn't thinking about, hey, is this person actually living by what they preach? And does this actually make any sense? Or is this just another guy, spouting a bunch of bullshit on the internet, trying to get attention and farm views? Because a lot of these guys, they'll say the most outlandish, outrageous things to go viral, and they're just trying to get attention, right? But they're not actually serious about what they're saying. And so, yeah, just to recap, I think the identity crisis, let me turn this way with the wind. I think the identity crisis that we're seeing amongst men, and young men especially, is a combination of factors. Number one of which, there's just a lack of masculine role models in society. We don't have, fathers to really guide us. There's a lack of that. And so that leads to a lot of men who are desperate, a lot of men who are down bad, because we're too fucking comfortable in this society, and we don't actually take the strides and leaps forward that we need to as men to put ourselves in a position so we can live a life of freedom, abundance, and purpose. That's the first one. I think a real issue with fatherhood, especially in this country. The other one is the people who have bad intentions, who prey upon that, and the people who have bad intentions who want to basically come into your life, give you extreme, radical prescriptions, and want you to believe that they are the solution to your problems, and that they're this magical guru that's going to solve all the problems for your life, and that if you just do what they say, you'll be all right. And the truth is that only you can make your life all right by the actions that you take every single day. So yeah, let me know what you think about this down in the comments below. I'm finishing up this walk right now. It's about 18 or 17 degrees, so I'm kind of cold out here, and I just thought of this video. I wanted to come up and put it up here to see what your guys' thoughts were around this sort of identity crisis that we're seeing, and that I know for a fact, I went through at a younger age. I'm in my mid-20s now, so not as much. I've gotten more solidified in terms of my beliefs and my code of life and what I believe is true and what's not. However, that does not mean I'm not influenced. I'm always influenced by the people I see on the internet and the people I follow, because you can't not be influenced. We live in a society where your tribe, so to speak, of people is not even necessarily around you. Now it's on the internet, right? So those 5 people who are influencing your life could be on the internet. So you better be careful of who you pick, bro. You better be careful of who you pick. So let me know what you guys think down below. I'm gonna finish up this walk and go get warm. As always, remember to keep striving to build a life of freedom, abundance, and purpose. I'll see you guys next time.